If my mom asks me what I do, I work for a company that helps financial institutions worldwide to make lending simple. Traditional financial institutions are sitting on a pot of gold. They have a lot of data in essence. They know already so much about a customer.
Welcome to How to Lend Money to Strangers with Brendan Lagrange. After the excitement of our first visit, we're back in Rwanda today, looking at purpose-built systems and the burning questions facing the boards of East African lenders. Paul Weiss, Head of Growth at Simbuka, Software Solutions for Banks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Paul, you have a focus on East Africa these days, but your career roots are Indo-Dutch. So I don't usually do this, but if you don't mind, can we explore your master's thesis and your first foray into international social entrepreneurship, I guess?
Definitely. Indeed. I did my master thesis in Indonesia. And the topic of my master thesis was entrepreneurial intentions of university students in the Netherlands and also in Indonesia, comparing the characteristics of students in Indonesia or in the Netherlands to make the decision to become an entrepreneur, yes or no.
Yeah, I called that one out because actually, sort of by chance, my MBA thesis was in a similar field, not exactly the same, but I looked also at entrepreneurial intention within unemployed populations in South Africa. And it's something you don't think much about, but as soon as you start looking, there are all these contextual aspects that can change whether or not programs succeed and well-intended efforts to drive things like entrepreneurship will work. You then moved to Accenture, and I guess that was your foray into financial services.
Absolutely. I did my master's in strategic management, which is quite a broad business course, I would say. And it was a logical step to join Accenture. And I joined their strategy and consulting department in the financial services sector, working there with leading banks. From the beginning, I was focused on technology. How can you make sense of technology to do things cheaper, faster, more flexible, more transparent? So in those 6 years, I was based out of Amsterdam. It was a huge learning curve for me and got me really deep down into banking as such.
Yeah, so Paul, obviously Indonesia and Netherlands have historic links. So those earlier sort of international efforts make sense. But then from Accenture, about 3 years ago now, you moved to Kigali to join Simbuka. So 2 questions jump to mind. Who is Simbuka and how did that move come to be?
Yeah, so Simbuka is a software company based out of the Netherlands. Started about 15 years ago, essentially to help financial institutions to make lending simple. And we do that by providing software solutions in the likes of a loan management system. A loan management system is quite a comprehensive system that streamlines all the activities from loan origination to disbursement. Workflow, credit scoring, document management, collateral management, all those things are packed into the software solution that we have. Now, why did I make the choice to go to Kigali or to East Africa? One, the sister of my grandma lived in South Africa and in Zimbabwe. And my grandparents were there to visit them, and they came back with all these beautiful stories. And that sparked my imagination to the fullest, I would say. So in the past years, I went there on the holidays, and I decided to make that move and to go there. And I really wanted to do something where I could bring my expertise and my experience. And having worked with the biggest banks in Europe, some of them even in America, gave me a good foundation to join Simbuka and to make lending simple also for the people here in East Africa.
Yeah, and well, I was reading the website, so I'm cheating a bit. I saw that Simbuka is a Rwandan word, but it wasn't long ago that when we talked East Africa, we were talking about Nairobi as the hub. Everybody was in Nairobi. I mean, there still is a lot of exciting stuff happening there. But as we said earlier, you're based in Kigali. What is the reason behind Rwanda, and what are the benefits you're seeing working in that Rwandan scene?
East Africa is more than Nairobi, indeed, I would say. I spent actually my first 2.5 years in Uganda, in Kampala, where we did some projects. But I was basically indeed overseeing the whole region, flying from country to country to see how our clients are doing and what we could do more for any other potential clients. A half year ago, I switched my base to Kigali. And of course, probably your listeners are familiar with Rwanda, with Kigali. And if not, it's of course a very front-running country in many aspects. And if you talk about loan software and doing things in a different way, because that's essentially what we are pitching to the financial institutions, Rwanda is a big country for us to show what we can do and then to leverage that experience to other countries like Uganda, like Malawi, like Burundi, Kenya and Tanzania. So Rwanda is for us a very safe haven, I would say, to bring our solutions.
You've been there 3 years now in the region, as you say, in all the different countries, talking to a range of lenders and some exciting fintech. So when we first started talking, the thing that caught my eye was that you had just published this fantastic article on the 3 burning topics in the boardrooms of East African banks. So before we talk about sort of the nuts and bolts of what Simbuka is doing, would you mind sharing those learnings, kind of what you've picked up in your time in East Africa and what these sort of leading problems are or leading topics are that banks in the region are thinking about and getting to grips with?
Yes, definitely. First of all, I think there's a lot on the plate for banking executives, to be quite fair. Everyone wants to have the super app. Yeah. Everyone wants to have digital transformations that run smoothly. First of all, it's not easy. But if I would distill from the last 3 years what is really happening, I would come down to 3 topics. The first is credit scoring. In the region, gathering data is quite a young thing. Gathering the right data is still something that is emerging in that sense. But getting the scorecard right is very important. Traditional financial institutions are sitting on a pot of gold. They have a lot of data in essence. They know already so much about a customer, and you could see where you can actually evaluate the risk of your customers. You could even give them proactive products, proactive services, etc., etc. Getting that credit scorecard model right is an important one, also for the faster processing of your loans. And that is still a relatively new topic here in the region. Second one is the everlasting debate of doing things in-house or outsourcing or partnering. What do you develop yourself and who do you bring into your house, basically? And I would sometimes call it to become truly streamlined and digital. And you should have a roadmap there for what do I do and what do I deliberately not do. And that's still something a bit fuzzy sometimes when I talk to the banking executives. And technology, in essence, is an enabler, not an objective. Then lastly is straight through processing. Start with the basics. We all see these fancy terms about AI and optical character recognition and whatnot all over the internet and all over LinkedIn, but just start with the basics. Get your loan from A to Z in 2 days and really drill down in what is happening in that whole chain and how can we eliminate the waste. Doesn't necessarily need to be technology, can also be other things, but really go to the basics of processing and see how you can improve that. Can we do maybe instant loan products? Can we transfer some of the manual processed products into instant loan products? Because we know the risk. We know what to do. We know what to ask. By the way, we already have the information and you can get the engine running. So those would be my 3 topics for now. But probably if you ask me next year, I'll have 3 other topics.
Yeah, I'm sure, because also, obviously, the customer expectations are changing so fast. The days are gone when people would expect and be comfortable with these long delays and lots of forms to fill out. We're seeing innovation in the telco space, in the e-commerce space. People are demanding that from their lenders as well. So lenders now do need to look at how they're going to solve these problems, how they're going to be able to provide loans quickly with the sort of protection of a scorecard behind them. And in that context, how is Simbuka helping? What do you bring to the market in East Africa when it comes to making these loans easier to do?
So Simbuka is providing a flexible and a scalable software solution. I think those elements are really important. So what we bring to the market is a solution that can be, and I would say that we also want, the financial institution to own itself. We made the solution in such a way that you can set up your loan products right now. It's quite intuitive to do so and for quite user-friendly. You can set your credit score, you can set your workflow, you set your loan size tiers, and in one day, you have your loan product ready. You can even assign it to a particular branch where you say, okay, in this region, I want to have this product. In this region, I want to have that product. And in that sense, it's flexible, but also scalable. If you look at some of our customers that we have, we do about 40,000 loans per day that are processed with our solution. Some of our customers still ask for on-premise, but cloud-based is also still very possible. And of course, we are able to integrate with all sorts of APIs. So I think flexible and scalable, the differentiators in the market. I sometimes tell them, you don't need to call me, you can do it yourself. We made the solution in such a way that you are owning the solution yourself.
Yeah, and I'm on the page now, and it's a full end-to-end loan system. I mean, you're talking customer management, KYC, loan originations, as you said, scorecard engines, but through to collections and recoveries, a complete loan solution. And I think that is a big difference to what used to be in the market, where you could get a full loan management system from a big international provider that would be very expensive and not really fit for purpose in an East African context, or you had an in-house built system that solved one problem and there was very little in between, but you've thought of everything. And as you say, even beyond that, you're connecting into APIs. So other existing solutions and whatnot can be incorporated. I imagine these are beyond the days of having to phone your provider to code you a new column if you've got a new type of data involved. This is fully designed for a world of big data and changing data.
Absolutely. It definitely addresses all of that. And maybe also on top of that, we're not only doing software. So when we are doing this, we're not automating what is there now, but we're automating for the future. So when we enter a financial institution, we look at what is there now, but automating what is there now doesn't really have an added benefit, we would say. So we would see, okay, you have your credit score set now, but learning from experience, what if you do this, you could reach to point B. Looking at workflow management, you have now, what if we can do things better? We're basically fundamentally changing the way of working from top to down, and that is also part of the service that we are delivering.
It's actually a great point to mention, because you're right that, one, there's a lot of leapfrogging that's possible. So we don't need to follow the steady path because new technologies have arrived and you can go straight into much more flexible systems. So it's great to have somebody who understands where you come from, but also state of the art, like what can we leapfrog? And I guess very related to that, but it's great to have someone who understands that sort of change, because it does take an organizational shift to implement some of these things, to move for the first time from manual to decision making, moving away from committees overseen by committees to we're going to program this into the machine and we're going to reap the benefits of that. So it's a big change management moment to go from manual to digital, but then also not leave it there. As you say, not to just say, okay, we've replaced your 3 levels of risk committees with a scorecard. Hooray, we've saved some time and some money. But actually, what should we be doing next? And I mean, I guess we've seen a lot of that in the mobile money space in the region, where really global leading innovations are possible when we say, hey, we don't need street addresses and landlines and the things that built the US and the UK systems. I was looking, as I said, on the website earlier. I saw a number of really impressive logos listed there among your clients, and one caught my eye, NMB, who we spoke to just a week or two ago on this show. But Are there any customer success stories you can talk about that really showcase the sort of change that Simbuka is able to bring with its software and with its work in building for the next level as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. NMB is indeed one of our most prominent customers, I would say. We started working with them 13 years ago, and I think we've been on the journey together from the start. In the beginning, there was indeed a lot of manual work, no credit scoring, and through those years, we were able to help them to significantly reduce in turnaround times, to do about 200,000 loan scorings per month with 0 to 1% non-performing loan ratio. We are integrating with various third-party data sources, and we are also actively helping them with new products. A new product that we are seeing that gets a lot of traction is instant lending. Instant lending will change the industry the next coming years, and we've seen the increase with fintech players, telecom players, to come to the front. But in my opinion, the traditional financial institutions hold the key here. They're sitting on a big pile of data, and they have all the characteristics to make this work with automated scorecards, with, I would say, low touch, but high tech. That is a solution that we're bringing into the market that can deliver this for any type of financial institution. Think of payday loans, think of agent loans, overdrafts, even unsecured personal loans can be instant. And those are all loan products that we would like to support our customers with, to grow and grow, because that's indeed, the name is called Simbuka, Kinyarwanda name, which is called jump. So we want to jump together, to make that jump together and to grow. And I think NMB is the perfect example of that, where they were when we joined them and where they are now.
I had a little pocket of East African episodes, but purely by chance, where we looked at Uganda, we looked at Tanzania, we looked at Rwanda. The upside is obviously we've got quite a lot of interest in that region at the moment. I've got some Kenyan episodes coming as well. If anybody is listening and saying, they could really do with a jump in their lending businesses as well, how do they find you online?
Yeah, so we're quite active on LinkedIn. Indeed, the website you mentioned, simbuka.com. Leave your message there and I will get in touch with you. But basically, we're also into networking. So we are speaking with the C-suite leaders every day to see what their challenges are and to see if it fits. It's quite a big change, the loan management system, and it's not done overnight. So we also understand that it might take some time to make the decision. But also you can do it more modular. Maybe start with that instant lending or retail or SME or corporate and see how it goes. We are, as I said, very flexible and very scalable. So I'm happy to share what opportunities are there and how we can help you to make lending simple, basically.
Yeah, and I think you're right that modular aspect of it is a big help, because you can identify one product, maybe in particular product you're looking to launch, or one where there isn't even a legacy system, and build like that and see is it working in real life for you, and expand it into the organization from there. As you said, to make a decision in a bank, there's lots of levels of risk to think about, but topics that are common across lenders, well, in the region, I think that expands across the continent to pretty much the whole world. But anyone who's listening, I encourage them to jump across the website or find you on LinkedIn. Paul, it's obviously a region that is doing a lot of jumping, a lot of changing. You're at the front end of that. When you look ahead, what are your plans on the horizon? Is there anything coming up we should be aware about, or any events you're at that people should look forward to meeting you at?
One of the solutions we are going to push into the market is instant lending. So we'll be proactively getting in touch with the financial institutions to share what we can do for them. If it's the other way around, I'm also very pleased to get their contact. But I think instant lending is really emerging, especially for those traditional financial institutions with the competition of fintechs, of telcos, basically. They're taking a big piece of the pie right now. And I think it's really time for the financial institutions to step up.
As you mentioned earlier, I mean, those traditional institutions, well, We often talk about the fintechs, taking that share away from the big banks. The big banks aren't helpless. They're sitting, as you said, with these gold mines of data. They've got these customers to reach out to. So, it's a great time for them to think about how do they fight back? How do they turn the data they have into good products for their customers? In a region that is just really exciting for me, I think, many of the listeners are from elsewhere. I do think it's a region worth watching just to see how these sort of changes come to market. So, Paul, thank you so much for making the time today to talk to me a little bit more about what's happening there and the work that Simbuka is doing.
Thank you for having me. And I love your podcast. I'll keep listening. And thank you for your time.
And thank you all for listening. Please do look for and follow the show on your favorite podcast platform and share the updates widely on LinkedIn, where lending nerds are found in our largest concentration. Plus, send me a connection request while you're there. This show is written and recorded by myself, Brendan Lagrange, in Brighton, England. Show music is by I Am Wake, and you can find show notes and written transcripts at www.howtolendmoneytostrangers.show. And I'll see you again next Thursday.